Republic of Maryland. The Republic of Maryland, also known variously as the Independent State of Maryland, Maryland in Africa, and Maryland in Liberia, was a country in West Africa that existed from 1834 to 1857, when it was merged into what is now Liberia. The area was first settled in 1834 by freed African American slaves and freeborn African Americans, primarily from the U.S. state of Maryland, under the auspices of the Maryland State Colonization Society. The larger American Colonization Society was founded in 1816. It supported the settlement of thousands of free people of color to its colony of Liberia in West Africa. There were also initially separate settlements founded by state colonization societies of Mississippi, Mississippi in Africa, Kentucky, Kentucky in Africa, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Louisiana. A New Jersey colony was planned. In 1838, these African American settlements were united into the Commonwealth of Liberia, which declared its independence from the American Colonization Society on July 26, 1847. The Maryland colony remained separate from Commonwealth of Liberia, as the Colonization Society wished to maintain its trade monopoly in the area. On February 2, 1841, Maryland in Africa became the independent state of Maryland. Following an independence referendum in 1853, the state declared its independence on May 29, 1854, under the name Maryland in Liberia, with its capital at Harper. History. The American Colonization Society was founded in 1816, in part due to alarms over the violence of the Haitian slave revolution and its aftermath, which resulted in independence for that country in 1804. Fears were raised about the effects of emancipation of slaves in the United States. In this period, both slaveholders and abolitionists collaborated on the project to transport. They suggested it was repatriation, but by this time most African Americans were native-born in the United States and said they were no more African than the Americans are British. Slaveholders believed that free blacks threatened the stability of their slave societies. Nat Turner's rebellion of 1831 panicked Southerners, afraid of another slave uprising and seizure of the country, as had recently happened in Haiti. Abolitionists, many of them ministers, hoped to persuade slaveholders through their religion to manumit free their slaves, and also worried about the discrimination faced by free blacks in the United States, arguably worse in the North than in the South. Those who supported relocation to West Africa believed, or pretended to believe, that the African Americans would create their better polities, first as some vague type of colonies, then countries, away from white prejudice and white discrimination, and white economic exploitation, and white liquor. While thousands of free blacks did relocate to the colonies, most free African Americans opposed this project, claiming the right of their birth in the United States and wanting to improve their lives there. See abolitionism in the United States. Maryland had an increasing proportion of free blacks among its African American population. During the first 2 decades after the Revolution, about 25% of blacks were freed, in part because slaveholders were inspired by the war's ideals. Practically, changing labor needs meant that fewer slaves were required. By 1810, some 30% of northern Maryland's blacks were free in what was a more urbanized region, but so were 20% of blacks in the southern part of the state. In the next 2 decades, the number of free blacks increased markedly in the northern part of the state, and many congregated in Baltimore, the state's and the South's largest city. By 1830, Maryland had a total of 52,938 free blacks. 51.3% of blacks in northern Maryland were free, and the black population of Baltimore was 75% free. In southern Maryland, free blacks made up 24.7% of the black population. The Maryland State Colonization Society was originally a branch of the American Colonization Society, which had founded the colony of Liberia at Monrovia on January 7, 1822. The Maryland Society decided to establish a new settlement of its own to accommodate its emigrants and with the intention of controlling trade to its colony. In December 1831, the Maryland State Legislature in the United States appropriated $10,000 for 26 years to transport 10,000 free blacks and ex-slaves and 400 Caribbean slaves from the United States and the Caribbean islands, respectively, to Africa. It founded the Maryland State Colonization Society for this purpose. Nowhere near that number were actually transported. Settlement of Cape Palmas. The first area in the future Republic of Maryland to be settled by the Maryland Colonization Society was Cape Palmas in 1834, somewhat south of the rest of the American colony. The Cape is a small, rocky peninsula connected to the mainland by a sandy isthmus. Immediately to the west of the peninsula is the estuary of the Hoffman River. Approximately 21 km 15 mi along the coast to the east, the Cavalier River empties into the sea, marking the border between Liberia and the Ivory Coast. It marks the western limit of the Gulf of Guinea, according to the International Hydrographic Organization, IHO. Most of the settlers were freed African American slaves and freeborn African Americans primarily from the state of Maryland. The Colonization Society organizers thought they could establish new trading ties by relocating African Americans to West Africa. The colony was named Maryland in Africa, also known as Maryland in Liberia, on February 12, 1834. John Brown Russwurm. In 1836, the Colonization Society appointed its first black governor, John Brown Russwurm (1799–1851), who served as governor. Russwurm encouraged the immigration of African Americans to Maryland in Africa and supported agriculture and trade. He had begun his career working as the colonial secretary for the American Colonization Society between 1830 and 1834. He also worked as the editor of the Liberia Herald. He resigned this post in 1835 to protest America's colonization policies. In 1838, a number of other American settlements on the west coast of Africa united to form the Commonwealth of Liberia, which declared its independence on July 26, 1847. Two American visitors in 1850 reported the population of Maryland and Liberia to be between 900 and 1,000, with 4 churches and 6 schools. The colony of Maryland in Liberia remained independent, as the Maryland State Colonization Society wished to maintain its trade monopoly in the area. On February 2, 1841, Maryland in Africa was granted statehood and became the state of Maryland. In 1847, the Maryland State Colonization Society published the Constitution and Laws of Maryland in Liberia, based on the United States Constitution. Declaration of Independence and Annexation by Liberia. On May 29, 1854, the state of Maryland declared its independence, naming itself Maryland in Liberia, with its capital at Harper. It was also known as the Republic of Maryland. It held the land along the coast between the Grand Cesse and San Pedro rivers. It lasted 3 years as an independent state. Soon afterward, local tribes, including the Grebo and the Crew, attacked the state of Maryland. Unable to maintain its own defense, Maryland appealed for help to Liberia, its more powerful neighbor. President Roberts sent military assistance, and an alliance of Marylanders and Liberian militia troops successfully repelled the local tribesmen. The Republic of Maryland recognized that it could not survive as an independent state, and following a referendum, Maryland was annexed by Liberia on April 6, 1857, becoming known as Maryland County. Legacy. A statue of John Brown Russwurm was erected at his burial site at Harper, Cape Palmas, Liberia. Internet archive materials on Maryland in Africa. Maryland in Africa, the Maryland State Colonization Society, 1831–1857, by Campbell, Penelope, 1971. Constitution and Laws of Maryland and Liberia, with an Appendix of Precedents, 1847. Proceedings and Addresses on the occasion of the 66th anniversary of the founding of Maryland and Liberia, 1900. Governors of Maryland in Africa. Dates in italics indicate de facto continuation of office.